I'm Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. Stephen Postema has been a loyal servant to the city of Ann Arbor since 2003. His passion for Town runs deep as a native of the area, leaving to receive his degrees and returning to be a key member in keeping the municipality thriving. After nearly 20 years on the job, entitled the longest serving city attorney, he is now ready to move on to his golden years. Welcome, Stephen Postema, to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I'd like to start with you growing up in Ann Arbor, because I feel like this is such a trend with people. My husband, for instance, is a townie and he would never leave. So I feel like this city has a pull to it. And I'd like you to sort of talk about that.
It is true. My family did come here in 1962. And as people who know the history of the city, between 1960 and 1970, the population increased from about 60,000 to 100,000. It was the biggest influx of people, and the Postema family was part of that influx. I was schooled here in Ann Arbor, in the Ann Arbor Public Schools, and also I went to parochial school for part of my time, and graduated from Ann Arbor Pioneer in 1977. And the school system means a lot to me. I care a lot about education, and I think that it's really a crown jewel of the city, and that's one thing that I'm quite grateful for growing up here. For the most part, I have excellent memories of growing up in Ann Arbor, and I have an excellent memory.
You left to go to college. Talk about that, and what made you want to, have a career in law?
I did. I went away for college and then law school at the University of Wisconsin. Obviously, Madison is a similar town. I've lived, and the family's lived in university towns. So it's towns where education was very important. Education was very important in my family. And so eventually, when it came time after law school to figure out a career, coming back to practice here actually meant a lot to me. I had a clerkship with a federal judge to come back here. My wife's father, and I met my wife in high school, 10th grade at Ann Arbor Pioneer High School in the library.
Oh, I love that. High school sweethearts.
So her father was a very prominent law professor at the University of Michigan, was an expert in zoning and administrative law. And I got along quite well with him when I met him in high school, and he was quite encouraging to go into law. And when your father-in-law is encouraging you to go into something that you're sort of interested in, well, that's not a bad thing to do. That issue about how society is run, how society governs itself, what things are important, that got me very interested in law and how laws are applied. And as far as eventually going into municipal law, people know this story. I was contacted, the city was in difficult times, and I got contacted by some council members, and I had helped the city in the past as a mediator of disputes. But the city and local government law is very fascinating. The issues that are here, all of the issues of the day have legal components, all the things that people are talking about, sustainability, affordable housing, environmental issues, police justice, all the current issues of the day, and the issues of the past, things that were important to people in the past, how the city is governed, how it's zoned, how we have development. All of those have legal components. And so to me, it's like it's just an issue that people deal with, and it's all current events. It's in real time, and it affects people. I can look out my window here today and see all sorts of things that have legal issues. Again, whether it's development, whether it's utilities, whether it's sidewalks, roads. We cover all of that in the city, and this office is supportive of all of the running of the government and then obviously advising the council, who provides the governance structure. We're obviously a strong city manager form of government, but the council's role in the charter providing direction. I'm very interested in municipal issues. The people in my office we call them municipal law geeks, because they have individual specialties and they really know a lot about different areas of the law, but not only just the substantive areas, but how does local law fit in with state law? How does local law fit in with federal law? And how do people govern themselves with these different areas of law? It's sort of endless. For that, the job itself is really quite an intellectual job as far as the number of issues. And it's not an easy job, because the volume of work for the city has greatly increased since I began in 2003.
Sure.
The complexity of the issues.
Could you have imagined 20 years ago that you would be the longest running city attorney?
Not really. I came in at a time where there were a lot of difficult issues going on in the city. They were sorting through a number of things. I came on primarily because it was an opportunity to give back to the city that I was grateful for. And but I thought, like many people, that you would come in at that time of my life, I would do some public service I didn't have a set period of time. Obviously, I'm here at the will of the council, and that's certainly changed over time. I've been advising 5 city administrators, well over 40 council members. The number of department heads is dozens. And so at the beginning, I thought I would come in to do a good job to help the city through this period of time, to restructure the office in a way, to do certain things. But as other opportunities presented themselves, I always could have gone back to private practice. There was always things on the horizon that I felt I could help the city with, and wanted to do that. And the other added pull is the team that I ultimately put together here very carefully to respond to the needs of the city and to the needs of the council. It was a really good and talented group of people. That was quite a draw to stay, to find another position where, again, I had been in private practice with a very good law firm, and the work I did was very interesting, and I enjoyed it. But except for maybe being a judge in terms of the variety of issues that come, this is a very, very unique and special job. I've said many times, this is one of the best public service jobs in the state of Michigan. It's serving the city of Ann Arbor. And so that's certainly been an honor. But while it seems difficult, I mean, occasionally people say, you have the worst job in the city of Ann Arbor. And I think that they say that because of one thing or another. They don't like what's happening, or there's problems that seem intractable. But as an attorney, you solve problems. So the fact that there are difficult problems, that doesn't make the job bad. In fact, it makes it quite interesting. And in fact, some of my colleagues that I recruited and now have retired, my pitch to them coming in is, we need you here. You're going to have to work harder and get paid less, but this is a great public purpose and I need you. And now some people say, well, that's sort of a poor pitch. On the other hand, it worked, and almost everybody I pitched it to came and have done a good job for the city. So it's that pull, both the intellectual challenges, the practical day-to-day challenges of solving things. But those are things that attorneys like to do.
You mentioned like getting paid and stuff, and obviously there's not as much money in municipal law as maybe private practice, but you really can't put a price tag on loving your job, right? I mean, there's plenty of people out there that just, it's mundane, they hate going to work every day, but if you really like your job and you're passionate about it, there's no amount of money that can replace that.
Society is sort of at a crossroads right now, and it's interesting to be in public service because we've gone through, frankly, as a local government, but also as a state and as a nation, we've gone through quite a unique time period with the pandemic. And it's really something where we, as a local unit of government and people in general, are sort of weary of the weariness of things that are part of everyday life now. And so that additional challenge, again, I would prefer that challenge had never come, and most people do. But I think that a lot of people have reevaluated their life, and they want to do something with purpose, and organizing society, deciding how people will live together in that society necessarily involves laws, enforcement of laws. And because of that, there is burnout in all segments. There's burnout in municipal government. That is true. There's burnout in all sorts of things. But I think that people look for purpose, and that's one thing that the city really has, is a strong purpose. And I think that while we get through this, and we hope city leadership really capitalizes on that. We have a lot to offer, and my view is the best of the best should come and work in public service, whether for a long period of time or a short period of time. And it's the job of the city administrator, and it's the job of other people in leadership. It's certainly important for the council to encourage that and encourage an environment where people really value the work. And so that's a theme that I've talked about repeatedly. I've talked about that publicly, and it will be increasingly important because I think people do look for fulfillment, and there's a lot of talented people who have stayed for the same reason I have, and that is it is very rewarding.
In your 20 years on the job, were there any like legal victories that, really stood out to you that you're really proud of?
It's best to understand the whole network of the office. We strive to support the different service areas. You're well aware of them. And so I have people who specialize in the business aspect, people who specialize in litigation aspect. They might be property, or they might be employment law. And so I think that things that stand out for me may sound a little mundane. For me, putting together structures that are useful to the city, that is, having the right attorneys in place. My attorneys will joke with me. I do all of the hiring. Hiring is very important to me to get people in place that can really take care of the business of the city. So that is a bureaucratic aspect that may sound a little boring, but it was very important to me to get systems in place that would be able to manage things, and that's an ongoing issue and struggle given the increase in the volume of work. One of the things coming on, there were a lot of difficulties in labor relations and litigation, and over time, that was a really important thing that we focused on as far as HR and labor and employment. And I had the fortunate ability to have in my time 2 very talented labor and employment lawyers. And so again, bringing them on, it's it's sure we get credit, but I get credit for bringing those people in. They've done some excellent work. All municipalities, because of the breadth of services that they provide, they come into contact with a lawsuit for one reason or another. And overall, we've done extremely well on dealing with those. Not because of necessarily um, uh, just the legal end of it, but making sure systems are in place so that the right things were done, and things are defensible. And so it's sort of being proactive and making sure that that systems are set up correctly, so that when an issue does arise, lo and behold, a judge may look at it and say, no, really, things were done properly, and so on and so forth. Things are not perfect. Things are very fast moving, and but I'm certainly proud of those types of things.
You mentioned your retirement pretty early on, so you could be a part of the hiring process to replace you. Talk about why that was so important to you. I mean, you mentioned how important hiring is, and I agree with you, but you really wanted to be a part of it, where a lot of people would just leave and then would have someone replace them.
Our office is a small office. One of my main themes has always been teamwork. Growing up in Ann Arbor, I was parts of many teams, things that were very influential, whether it's the cross-country team or a track team or a basketball team, many teams that from the recreation departments. And the thing about teamwork is that it gets people outside of themselves. It gets people working with other people, because a single person, whether it's the city attorney, whether it's the city administrator, a single person simply can't do all that is needed. There's unending problems. And so you have to put teams together, and it gets people thinking outside of themselves, and anticipating what other people might need to do a good job. And so I think that it was really important to me all along. Those are influences that I had, that sort of helped me in creating what needed to be done here. Again, it's imperfect. The work's not completed, but as far as a successor, one of the things I've learned I had 4 major retirements in my office, all coming up at one time, and sitting back, I was going to replace something like 120 or 30 years of experience within my office. And so it got me interested in succession planning. The council was great about this. We hired people who worked alongside other people, and it worked really well. And so I was really determined. I probably gave the longest notice in the history of the city. I even back in 2016, for a number of reasons, when the succession planning came up, I promised the council to stay at least through 2020, because this was on the horizon,
Mhm.
and it was important to keep that together. And then in 2021 and 2020, I did realize there were things that I had to deal with in my family, and so I announced very early in January of 2021 that I would need to go and retire at some point in 2022. And that, so I believe that's almost 15 months ago. And I encouraged the council, and again, they were very proactive on this. They got a consultant in early. They started the process early, because you don't know whether a search process will be successful or not. You might have to start over. It just takes a lot of time. They were fortunate. They did have a candidate who is coming on April 11th. And the council did a good job in the search, and she's excited about coming on. And I've talked with her numerous times, and she is ready to come out. So they were able to finalize that in December. And but as far as my role, while I had an interest in it, the office itself, Attorney McDonald in my office and Attorney Radabaugh in my office, they actually were the ones who helped coordinate. It was done through a search. It was done with the admin committee and the council, and it was a broader search. But they coordinated some of the efforts internally, and so I set up the process in place and said it was a good thing. But I did not have a role in the selection, but the council properly listened carefully to not only persons in my office, but persons throughout the city, and carefully to the council members. So that was a well publicized process, the interviews and so on. And so, but I actually stepped back from that and let the people who would be dealing with my successor have a role in that. And so I don't feel the need to be involved in everything. I do feel the need to make sure that there are people here who can handle all of the different things, and that's really the difference of that. So that process is in place. I've met with the successor attorney. She's coming on April 11th. And I will be retiring March 11th, and that sounds a little bit odd. There'll be a gap, but again, I have my chief deputy city attorney, Kevin McDonald. He was one of my first hires, and he, like me, grew up in Ann Arbor, and is a longtime Ann Arborite. And while it's not a requirement, there are several people in this office, frankly, who grew up here, went to high school here, and have very, very strong ties to the community. And I think the reason that is true is that public service is often difficult. And so people who are in it for the long haul, it's not just a job, it's something that they're very passionate about. And the end product, doing good things for the community. People who grew up here, they may have the same reasons that I have, that is gratitude, and for growing up here, and a real pull to take good care of the city to make sure that it thrives.
Well, in this last minute or so that we have, why don't you talk about what you might miss, and will we see you again?
I suppose that what I'll miss most is the work that goes into teamwork and working with a strong team. That is very helpful. I will miss the random opportunity to observe really good work by people who are unsung heroes in the community. They get your work done. They don't have an article in the paper about them, or people may not know their names, but they do the work of the city. I see that, whether it's in the police department, the fire department, public services, who may be out working on a broken line at 3 a.m. There may be people in community services who make sure that our jewel of a park system really continues, from the finance people who watch over the city's money. These are people who are very, very dedicated. And in this day and age, it's interesting. People are sort of anti-government, or I don't know what people's view is. Basically, people take things for granted often, and so I've been able to observe good people who have done the work, who are unheralded. And so my team being able to support all of that, and the work of the council, they all have political ambitions for the city. for the city to do well. They may have different views of it, but working with council members on things, being able to talk about law with council members. Those are all things that have been important to me, and so whether people will see me around, I don't know. People know I walk to work. I'm all over the city, and so I think that I will assist in the succession planning and to the extent I'm needed to help provide some background information or whatever. We work that into a succession plan, and so my service is certainly for my successor. There are things that if there are things that that are needed, I'm glad to help out and fill out information, but the team is strong in place. And so the goal is obviously a new person's coming in, and the advantage of a new person coming in is that they can look at things in a new way, and going forward, the trajectory of what is needed in law, it just keeps coming, and things get more, the need for law will never end. It will only increase. And so that's exciting, and where that goes. So those are, but as far as my plans after this, I plan to take some time off. I will eventually go back into private practice with a specialty of helping municipalities. Certainly, that's in one area of expertise. The other area I'm good at resolving disputes. I've helped law firms when they've had disputes. I've done that in the past. I've helped them resolve their cases. That's certainly facilitation and being a mediator, doing pro bono work. There's an endless number of things that to do. I've been contacted by a number of organizations to assist with possibly being on boards, on private boards, and but I haven't fully thought that out, because my total focus right now is wrapping up and providing a good succession plan for the city, and that transition and encapsulating historical knowledge is very, very important to an organization, and people just forget that. And so I'm very committed to that. And but the future, no, I don't worry about the future. I will find plenty of things to do, most of them productive. I was born in an age where you really needed to be useful in life, and so I have that ingrained in me. But I can also relax too, although some people would dispute that.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to thank you for your service to the city of Ann Arbor, and I want to say you will be missed.
Thanks for having me on, and I appreciate your kind words.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time to FYI.